BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good morning from me and the regimental band of the Royal Welsh. Welcome to the Royal Welsh Show 2025. We'll try and reflect all the fun of this beautiful show here at Builth Wells. We'll talk, of course, about some policy and even sheep shearing. This show is a little bit different this year because of bluetongue. The numbers of animals being shown are down on last year, as one of the organisers, Nicola Davis, explains.
It was massive. The fact that our English exhibitors and Scottish exhibitors are very important to us, especially so in the cattle sections. And it has affected the cattle section, it was third down. The sheep were affected, but not to as great an extent, because a cloud always has a silver lining. Our native breeds have excelled themselves this year. They've really boosted.
Now, just to explain, bluetongue is a disease which affects animals like sheep and cattle. The whole of England is now a bluetongue restricted zone. And that means that if an animal is coming from England into Wales, it has to get a movement licence and have a negative pre-movement test or be vaccinated. Animals from England just can't come.
No, and neither can they travel through the zone from Scotland to come to Wales. So it was quite a big impact, but we do hope that they'll be able to come and support us again in the future.
So what's been your highlight this year?
Well, my highlight, believe it or not, is actually sitting back and looking at what the society has provided that's new. We have the army here, for example, everybody together, and they've got a 70-foot zip wire. And I was speaking to the Colonel-in-Chief yesterday, and he said he wouldn't believe it, there are kids queuing at 7:45 in the morning to go down this zip wire. Something different. You know, the Defender experience, new heavy horse village. And if we can get the young generation in, something to appeal to them, they want to come back next year and the year after, and you then bring them in.
Nicola, thank you very much for talking to us when I know you're really busy. We will be talking about young people in farming later. I will not be going on a zip wire. I'm just making my way past the cattle ring, as you can probably hear. They're right in the middle of judging. Some huge great bulls in the ring just at the moment. It's incredibly busy here at the show, actually. Lots of families and lots of kids. Well, we're actually now going to talk more about the policy and the politics. As you'll be aware, if you're a regular listener to this programme, agricultural policy is devolved, and here in Wales they launched the Sustainable Farming Scheme, which is their replacement for the Common Agricultural Policy because of Brexit. Lots and lots of talk about it here at the show, obviously. Some people quite pleased, some people unimpressed, and a lot of people somewhere in the middle as they try and work out what it will mean for their farms and for their businesses. Samuel Kurtz speaks for the Conservatives in the Senedd.
A vast improvement on what was first announced by the Cabinet Secretary for Rural Affairs predecessor some 12-18 months ago. The scaffolding, I say, is quite correct. The universal tier, I understand that. The collaborative and optional tiers, we get that. But there still remains a lot of questions around some of the details. We're being told that they'll come in September, October, November for a scheme due to start on the 1st of January. So when you're thinking of the agricultural cycle, business cycle for farms, that doesn't leave a lot of time to prepare, especially when you add in the tapering on the BPS is now falling not by 20% that was first proposed, but by 40%. I've already got farmers, specifically dairy farmers, turning around and saying, we've done the arithmetic, we're not going to join. We're going to increase productivity, and that's our way of ensuring that we don't lose financially.
And that's fair enough, isn't it? Because it is a choice now.
Yeah, absolutely is a choice. But if you're looking from the government's perspective, from the environmental NGO's perspective, you want as many farmers signed up as possible to meet those targets that are set in biodiversity and carbon capture and all of those things. So if you've got fewer farms signing up and going the different routes, how does it really work as a scheme for all if there's farmers turning around and saying it's not viable?
Samuel Kurtz there from the Welsh Conservatives. Well, I'm in one of the best vantage points I think you can probably get at this show. This is the balcony at NFU Cymru, and it overlooks the main ring, which, as you can probably tell, is full of horses. Actually, mares and foals at the moment being judged. Honestly, if I were able to sit on this balcony all day and look at what's going on in the main ring, that's pretty much all I'd be doing. But Abby Reader, who's the Deputy Leader of the Union, I guess that's not what you've been doing for the past few days here at the show.
No, it's been a really busy day, busy morning this morning, but all week, talking to politicians, stakeholders, our members, anybody who wants to talk about the current issues that are happening in farming, and there are many.
Well, there are. I mean, let's talk about the obvious one, which is the Sustainable Farming Scheme, the SFS. You've had a bit of time now and serve your members to sort of think about it. What's the general attitude towards it, would you say?
We're largely positive about the structure of the scheme. We're very pleased to see that we've got what we call a universal layer. There's going to be a baseline payment to offer stability and confidence to our farmers. And certainly messages we're having off farmers, a lot are getting the impression that hopefully their payment will be largely the same, and that's always been the ask for us. If there's any changes, we need to get at least as good as we had before. We have some concerns around the chance that that universal layer, the pot may be reduced in the future. That is a massive red line for us. We would also like to see the economic impact assessment. We've got to make sure we've got a scheme that every single farmer can get into, because how else do they then go on and access funding pots that are there to ultimately make us more sustainable?
Plenty of people will be saying, actually, farmers should be doing some of that off their own bat. You know, public finances are under strain. You've done pretty well here in Wales.
So what we need to remember is food doesn't just happen in an increasingly challenging growing environment with the weather, with geopolitical issues. We are in a situation where the price that consumers pay for their food isn't sufficient to cover what farmers need to be able to deliver these goods.
Abby Reader from NFU Cymru there. Well, let's find out what some of the farmers here at the show think are the main challenges facing them.
Well, where do you want me to start, really? There's just so much change, isn't there? And in a farming calendar, it takes 12 months for things to change. So when there's so many policies changing, you can't plan, you need to plan.
Well, I guess it's the farm inheritance tax that's coming in next year. My grandmother is 80. You know, if she passes on, there'll be a big tax bill coming.
The new scheme in Wales, they just want you to plant trees and ponds, and they don't want you to produce food, well, quality food anyway.
They've only tried what they're doing for a few years. You don't know what they'll do after.
Well, we've got the new payment scheme, we've got drought at the moment. It's just uncertainty all the time, really, in whatever we're doing.
Is this your son with you? Yeah. Are you confident that he has a future in farming?
Well, he's not farming anymore, no.
I do a little bit, but I'm doing carpentry, so trouble is there's no certainty in farming, is there? You don't know where it's going at the minute, and with construction trade, there's always going to be work, so it's a job to know at home if there's a future, really.
Well, the Deputy First Minister and Rural Affairs Minister here in Wales, Hugh Irenca-Davies, has been at the show, so I put some of those points to him.
I'm not sure who you've been speaking to, because that's not what I've heard at all. And I've spoken to hundreds of farmers over the last couple of days. And actually, they welcome the certainty that we've given with this. So I don't know what you're hearing, but...
I'm hearing actually something really quite different. They are... I mean, obviously, it's not just policy, it's other things as well that create uncertainty. But they're particularly concerned that the emphasis, they say, still feels like nature, not food.
And I'm also getting pushback from some of the environmental organisations saying we haven't gone far enough there. I think what we've got is a very good balance, both from the viable farms, commoners, tenant farmers, all of those elements within it, but also it is a whole farm scheme. Good food, good livelihoods, climate resilience, all in one piece.
The other thing that came up quite a bit when we spoke to farmers was inheritance tax, a Labour policy across the whole of the UK. They are extremely concerned about that and have had no good news at all as they see it in the announcements that we had earlier this week. What do you say to them?
The good work that we're doing here in Wales, trying to protect the futures of particularly a type of farming, small and medium scale family farms in Wales, that needs to be protected. I'm trying to say very clearly to the UK government, do not do anything that undermines what we are trying to achieve here in Wales.
And this policy, in your view, does that?
I'm not saying that because the UK Treasury argues that the impacts of the inheritance tax and the changes around land taxation will not have the impact that others are saying.
Let's talk a bit about the future. We just spoke to a farmer and his son. The son actually has trained as a carpenter. He does not see a future in farming for him here in Wales. And that chimes with a report out this week from the Farming Union of Wales, which is really concerned about how you attract young people into farming. Do you share those concerns?
So do I share the concerns about an older population, ageing population? Yes. In farming, in forestry, in other areas of the land management sector. Do I think we got the solutions? Yes, I do. Let's get those young people in and let's paint the picture of exciting careers in farming, in food production, in forestry and so much more. Here's the piece we can give now, security for going forward on funding. Now that bolts down one of those greatest areas of uncertainty and we need to work together in the same spirit on all the others.
the Deputy First Minister and Rural Affairs Minister here in Wales, Hugh Iranca-Davies. Now, one of the things that farmers here at the show have been doing is using a ready reckoner. This is a way that farmers can try and work out how much they would get if they joined the new sustainable farming scheme. We went to have a look.
Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah, not so bad. I just come to pick your brains and see if you can enlighten us a little bit about the new scheme, that's all.
Right, okay, so what I can do is go through our ready reckoner.
Right.
So what this will give you is an indicative payment amount if you were to go into SFS in 2026. Okay. So this is, I've got it on here, but it's available on the website as well if you wanted to have a look at home. So I'd need your whole farm area, so that would include any common land, but you'd take away any ineligible features.
Right.
So I'm with Mark and Beth, who farm down in South Wales. You've just had a quick look at the ready reckoner. What do you make of it?
I'm just keeping my eyes open at the moment. I'm not fully committed. We've got to see whether we'd be better off just farming freely almost. Yeah,
what sort of farming are you doing?
We're a mixed farm with beef and sheep and growing about 70 acres of cereals.
And do you do things for nature at the moment, trees, hedges, all of that?
Yes, yeah, I would say we are a fairly nature-friendly farm. We've got a bit of river meadows in the summer and I like to see the wildlife around the farm.
So why not then get involved in the sustainable farming scheme and get paid for that?
I just want to make sure that it's not going to be too onerous, too much paperwork, and make sure that all the things that they want us to do have got a practical application, really.
You're farming with your daughter, Beth. What's your attitude to all this?
I think it's quite daunting. I quite like the idea of having the flexibility to do what you want, and that every farm is different. So one rule doesn't fit another farm. So I think that's where we're, as farmers, are worried that it's not all quite suitable to everyone.
The government will argue that they've made it really flexible to try and entice people like yourself in. If you don't go in, there will be a financial hit. So how would you cope with that? She's looking at Dad.
That is the difficult thing. I don't know, livestock prices are fairly strong at the moment. We're just waiting a little bit to see the fine print. We won't jump in with 2 feet straight away. We'll see.
We've talked a lot this morning about the serious side of farming, but at shows like here at the Royal Welsh, there is a lot of fun. Loads of food, loads of drink, loads of partying. But the biggest crowd that I have found today is for competitive sheep shearing. This is something else. Roughly a minute a sheep, sometimes a lot less, and it is absolutely absorbing. Well, I caught up with just one of the competitors, Ewan George, who is a farmer here in Wales.
So it's basically shearing sheep to the best quality and you can, so keep them clean, but you also have to be quick. It's a bit of a best of both worlds, really.
So how does the marking work? Because is the speed more important, or is actually the end result for the sheep?
So you get a point every 20 seconds while you're shearing, so that's 1 point. And then while you're shearing, the judges are watching that you don't cut in the same piece of wool twice. Then the judges will just have a look over the sheep, see any wool left or cuts, and then that's obviously divided between the sheep as well. So.
What's the attraction of doing it for you? Because it's sort of like a busman's holiday, isn't it? It's the day job.
Yeah, it is, but I don't know, it's just some sort of buzz, just being on that stage, the shed will be full. It'll be just, the atmosphere is unbelievable. You see later on today when it's the Open final and the Wales-New Zealand test, the place will be absolutely packed down the road out here. There'll be no seats.
Ewan, thank you very much and good luck for later. That's it from us here at the Royal Welsh Show. I'm Charlotte Smith. The producer was Rebecca Rooney, and Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.